Hi everyone, my name is Sara Papi from Fondazione Bruno Kessler, and I will present the paper MOSEL in 150,000 hours of speech data for open source speech foundation model training on EU languages. I will start from the question, why do we need open source? First, because the AI Act and other regulatory efforts are enforcing this open sourceness of the release material, but also to give a complete access to anyone. But what is open source? Following the GNU for freedoms, open source means the freedom of using the system for any purpose without having to ask for the permission to study it, inspecting its component, to modify it, including changing its outputs, but also to share it with or without modifications. But what does it mean for AI? The open source initiative established some minimal requirements for open source AI. And in our case, where the focus is data, it means that the dataset, the research paper, the technical report, and the data card should be released under an open source compliant license. So in our case, we scrape for resources that are free to access, so we don't have to pay for them, and the collection should be released under an OS compliant license. So the data itself cannot be released under, for example, a non-commercial, share alike, or non-derivative license. But also the content itself, in our case, the speech content, should be released under an OS compliant license. So we cannot scrape generic YouTube data without looking for the specific licenses. So in our paper, we propose a solution that is MOSEL, that is both a collection of OS compliant speech datasets for the EU languages, but also a set of pseudo labels released under a CC by 4 license. Looking at the general statistics of the MOSEL collection, we collected 18 datasets covering all the 24 EU languages. 7 of them were released under a public domain license, and 3 of them were unlabeled, with a total of more than 950,000 hours. If we look specifically at the label data, we observe that instead the distribution is highly skewed toward English language, with a total of more than 500,000 hours. But 87 of them comes from the YouTube Commons, one dataset that upon manual inspection revealed that it includes non-speech data, so a lot of music, that the language identifier provided were often inaccurate, but also that the sentence level segmentation was not provided, that instead is useful for the training. If we look instead at the distribution of the unlabeled data, we can observe that it is much less skewed toward English, with more than 440,000 hours. So let's explore this. And how? Using WhisperLarge v3 to pseudo-label the more than 440,000 hours. And WhisperLarge v3 can be used because it's released under an open source compliant license, Apache 2 version. This costed more than 25,000 GPU hours. That is more than 100,000 US dollars on, for example, an AWS cluster. But don't worry, because the pseudo labels, as I said before, would be released under a CC by 4 license. Then we provided a proof of concept on Maltese. But why Maltese? Because it's one of the lowest resourced languages among the EU languages, but also because it's the one for which Whisper achieves the worst results. So if MOSEL is effective on Maltese, this would suggest that also can be even more effective on other languages. Here are the results. The word error rate, lower the better, is provided here on Common Voice and FLIRs, and the performance of the original WhisperLarge v3 are compared against the model trained from scratch using both label and pseudo label, and also with some filtering techniques. And we can see that the model trained with all the data doubles the performance of Whisper, and that simple filtering techniques based on language identifiers and hallucinations improve the performance. Thanks for your attention. Both collection and dataset are available on GitHub and Hugging Face. Thank you.